Hey, it's Mrs. Hernandez. Hi there. And I'm going to review a little bit more about the parts of a clock and how you then can make a clock at home. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to show you a clock that I brought from school. You probably have seen this in some of your teachers' classrooms. And you notice first all the numbers that go around the inside of the clock. You notice that we have the hour hand, that's the short hand, little hand, and the minute hand that counts the minutes as the clock goes around. And you might also notice at the very, very bottom down here, if I move these little boxes aside, you can see that there's also the digital time down here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a little bit of review. Okay, I just want to show you what happens as I move the hands around the clock. So way that we tell the hour, or when we have that 00 after our hour hand, that's called on the hour o'clock. So we have 4 o'clock. If I move the minute hand, tick, 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 and it goes all the way back up to the 12 again. Then I'm going to hit 5 o'clock. Okay, so my clock over here in the bottom is getting a little bit tricky. There we go. All right, so now it says 5 o'clock. We say it is 5 o'clock because the hour hand is pointing to the 5 and the minute hand is pointing up at the top. Now, you might notice these red numbers around the outside, okay? These numbers are for counting the minutes. You see all these tiny little slashes all the way around the clock here? Well, 1 hour is made of 60 minutes. And minutes are just about the amount of time it takes for you to go somewhere else in the house and brush your teeth and then come back. Probably take, if you're really, really fast, it takes about a minute. Or maybe the time it takes for you to walk down the stairs and go to the car. That's about a minute. Okay, so there are 60 minutes in an entire hour. And we're going to talk more about how do you know how many minutes have passed next week. But this week we want you to all you need to know is that if it says o'clock or there's a 00 after the hour, that means that no minutes have passed the 12. This is like starting over, like a reset when you play a game and you're like, I need to start over again. This is like reset. This, even though it says 60 here, that's the total number of minutes that go all the way around the clock. But when it comes up to here, it means, really what it means is that there's no minutes that have passed yet. Once it moves one more, then you can say a minute has passed 5 o'clock. And if you look down here carefully, you can see it now that it says 5:01. Okay, but when it's right at the 12 here, we're going to say this is like, whoop, pressing the reset button. It's all of a sudden, it's back to 0 again. So I'm going to make a couple more times. Okay. Woo. Wow. What time is it now? First, look at the hour hand. Second, look at the minute hand. If the hour hand is pointing directly on the hour and the minute hand is right up at the 12, it is whatever it's pointing to, in this case 6, and then o'clock. Let's do this one. Whoops, flip it just one more so that my clock makes the right time in the bottom. If you noticed, it's changed, didn't it? The hour hand's pointing to the 8, and the minute hand is pointing to the 12. No minutes have passed, so we say it's 8 o'clock. And when you look down here in the bottom, it shows you in digital time, 8 o'clock. You're probably wondering, well, why does it say PM? Actually, I can make this clock either say PM, or I can make it say AM. AM means from 12 o'clock midnight in the nighttime until 12 o'clock during the day is or 11:59 technically in the day is AM. Once it becomes after 12 o'clock, then it is PM. Okay, I'm going to show you guys how to make your own clock, because the easiest and best way for you to figure out what the time is lots and lots of practice. Okay, so I'm going to show you the clock that I made and I'm going to make, and I'm just going to use a paper plate. So something that you can do to make your own clock, if you want to make it with me and pause the video, you need a couple maybe pieces of paper that you can cut into arrows. You're going to want to make one arrow a little shorter than the other one for your hour hand. If you want, you can color it red. And then you can cut another arrow and make it for your minute hand and color it blue. I mean, the reason I color it two different colors is just so we can keep track of which is which. I know in my other clock, I think the blue one was the hour hand, the minute hand was the red. It really doesn't matter as long as you can tell the difference. Remember, hour is a short word, so it's a shorter arrow. Minute is a longer word, so it has a longer arrow. It's just for a way for us to keep things put separately, okay? So first thing is we've got to draw the numbers. After you've made your arrows, and they're different, then you need to draw the numbers in. So let's take a look at our clock again so we can remember. Okay, so I've got the 12 here, and then it goes in number order 1, 2, 3, all the way up until I get to 12. And so you're going to want to do the same thing on your plate. Now you're thinking, one of the things that's challenging when first graders do this is trying to figure out, well, where exactly can I put the numbers? You might want to start by writing put a little mark in 4 corners, and then writing the numbers that are in those quarters. Okay, so we talked about quarters last week. This is quarter. These are quarters. You can, if I were to draw a line here and here, this would be a quarter of the plate. That's another way of measuring the plate. And when we talk about fractions, that'll make even more sense. So at this mark up here, I'm going to go ahead and write 12. At the one down here, I've got a 6, so I'm going to write 6. On the one here, I've got a 3, so I'm going to go ahead and write 3. And the one on here, I've got a 9, so I'm going to write 9. So now I've got my 12, 3, 6, and 9. Now I need to write in the other numbers, right? So we know that there's more numbers on the clock. Okay, so what numbers go between 12 and 3? I put 2 marks there, and you're right, there's a 1 and a 2. Now there's 2 more marks between 3 and 6. What numbers do I have between 3 and 6? 4 and 5. So I'm going to write those down. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just for you to practice time with. Here's 7 and 8. So I'm going to write 7 and 8. And then between 9 and 12, I've got 10 and 11. So I'm going to write 10 and 11. Okay, and then I'm going to put a dot right in the middle. Okay, so now that I've made my own numbers, and you, by the way, you can go back and decorate this and color it. Make it special. Make it yours, because you get to be the one who uses it. Now, I usually, when we're in school, we have these little things called brads that can affix these on here. And if you want, if you have something sticky like Play-Doh or something, you can stick these on here and just move them around. But if not, then you can just use, you can just move them by your hand. So if I want to make 12, let's start by making 3 o'clock. Remember, 3 o'clock, the first number is the hour that it's on. That means that my little hand, hour hand, is going to point to 3. Now, o'clock means no minutes have passed the hour. It means it's going to start right here. It's going to reset. It's going to be right here at the 12. That's how I make 3 o'clock. Okay, that's 3 o'clock. How do I make 4 o'clock? Okay, 4 o'clock. Then the hour hand is to point to the 4. The minute hand stays right here. How do I make 5 o'clock? Well, the hour hand has to point to the 5. Okay, this is what I want you guys to do. You're going to go ahead and get yourself a clock and make yourself a clock. And I'm just going to put this underneath it real quick, okay? And I want you to practice making the time. Remember, we're only making on the hour, so you only need to make sure that the minute hand doesn't even have to move right now, because we're going to just be practicing when the minute hand is on the 12, the o'clock hours, okay? And then I want you to make different times and then practice writing them. You can do it on paper, or I have a dry erase board. You can get one at Target. You can even have them deliver it to your house. So if I want to write 5 o'clock, I write 5 first because that's the hour, and then remember the minutes are 00 because they haven't moved yet. Okay, it's a little bit confusing at first, but that's how it works. If I want to make 8 o'clock, well then I keep the minute hour the same and I point the hour hand to the 8, and I can write it like this: 8 0 0, and I say 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Every time you say the 00s, you say o'clock. Okay, I hope that this helps you figure out how you can be making a clock for yourself at home. I hope that you find it interesting and fun, and we love to hear about it. And maybe you can take pictures of your clock and you can send a message on Dojo to see how it went. Okay, bye guys.